Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. Welcome back, my Division 2 family. How is everybody doing today? And yeah, a couple of weeks ago we put a video out showing the, at least I was challenging myself to come up with the highest damage build I could for the St. Elmos engine. Get the most damage I could out of gear sets and whatnot for that weapon. Since then, and since that video came out, a number of the community members were very forthcoming with some advice on how I could improve that build. And so today I'm going to take their advice, we're going to apply it to the original build and just see what happens and see if we can get even more damage out of this build or the new builds that they suggest. Should be good. Let's do it. So before we get started today, one thing I do want to point out is that I put these builds up as part of my journey with the Division 2, as part of my learning process with the Division 2, and by far I am not fully upgraded in my SHD level. I'm not fully upgraded on my expertise level, and certainly a lot of the gear pieces that we show you are not fully optimized either. And the reason I put these builds up is firstly just to give you some ideas, maybe a starting point for your own builds, depending on where you are with your character in the Division 2 and where your journey is. Anybody that's new to the game and doesn't know about gear builds and wants to get into them, again, it's a guide for those guys, and returning players as well that haven't been here for a while and may just want a build to start off with, or you know, a couple of builds just to get going. And that's really why I put my builds up on the channel. It's nothing more than that. I am trying a whole lot of different things. I'm experimenting with the game. I love that about this game, is the fact that you can just play around with all kinds of different configurations and come up with builds and trial them, and then, as we're going to see today, you can continue to improve them. So I wanted to make that very clear, because I do get some negative comments on this channel about, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, and you could do better than that, and blah blah blah. So if you're going to put those type of comments on my channel, give me an alternative, give me a suggestion on how I can improve things. And that's what the people in this video today have done. They've come up with suggestions and they want to help me on how I can improve my builds. And so I thought it was only fair to highlight the positive comments that we get on this channel and how it helps me, and hopefully it will help you improve your own gear builds for your own game. We're all here to learn. We're all here to come up with a build that suits us and make sure that we get the most out of the Division 2 and have fun with the game. So today we are going to have a look at some of the feedback that I got on that St. Elmos build, and certainly there are some improvements that I saw straight away just from a few minor tweaks to the original build. So let's start with looking at the original build and where we were, and then we will move forward from there. A lot of the builds that I watch and I get inspiration from online, on YouTube and various places, those guys have been playing the game for 4 or 5 years. Their SHD level is maxed out. Their expertise level is extremely high if it's not maxed out, which takes a lot of doing, let me tell you. Just to get one expertise level is a task in itself. So hats off to them. But you'll see a lot of those builds are maxed out, and then a lot of the gear parts are optimized to the bilio. So it makes a huge difference to what the numbers say, but you know, and how effective and how much damage you're putting down range. You can see with me, I'm SHD level 151 and expertise 3. Now, the reason I point this out is when you talk about SHD levels, you can see a lot of this stuff is going to make a huge difference. For instance, weapon damage. At this point, that's where I'm up to with weapon damage, 5.8% extra. You max that out at 10, but I've got a long way to go. And I've seen SHD levels in the thousands, so I've got a long way to go before all these attributes are going to be maxed out. So I always make a point of this, because the builds that I'm putting up are, you know, or it doesn't matter what that numbers is, that SHD level or your expertise, you can still be super effective. The second reason I bring that up is because these stat numbers will have changed because I've played the game since I put that video up, so they would have improved, and that your stats will improve to some degree as you play the game and you level up. So anyway, this is the build that we had. We had a Heartbreaker piece here. We had the Chain Killer, and the Chain Killer is going to be the main focus today. A Fenris holster, a couple tip of the spear knee pads and gloves, and then of course our good old Ninja Bike Messenger backpack. And we spoke at length why we have all these things happening. Now, here's the starting point. I'm going to put up the stats from the last video, because obviously I played the game and the stats from now are a little bit different to what they were 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago when we made the video. So here's the stats that we had with the original video, and let's see how we can improve upon that based on viewers' suggestions. So let's first look at the crit hit chance at 20%, crit hit damage 65.5, and the headshot damage is about the same, 65.4. 5% armor damage, health damage is at 25%. And let's look at the next page. Accuracy is about 34%, stability at 36%. And here's the numbers we really want to concentrate on. Our weapon damage bonus is at 90%. Our assault rifle damage was at 40%. And that's about all we really need to concentrate on, because we're focusing on assault rifle damage today. You can have a look at the others, but they should not change in any of the adjustments we do today. They may not, but we're really focused on getting the most out of the St. Elmos engine, which is an assault rifle. So that's the key numbers we want to improve on today. And again, as you can see, and we've already pointed out, my SHD level back then was 135, it's now 151, and I've invested at least some points in weapon damage. So just by doing that, my weapons damage bonus would have gone up. So here's our first email suggestion from Markersu9508. I apologise if I butcher your gamer tags or your gamer names or your names. I've got a habit of doing that, and I'm pretty good at butchering people's names. But Markersu, we went back and forward with a number of discussions, but one of the things that he pointed out to me was the fact that the Chain Killer gearpiece that I was using, the Walker Harris gearpiece, had Headhunter on it. And as he said, Headhunter for an assault rifle damage build, you're leaving a little bit of change on the table. It's probably not the best talent that you could use. So I said to him, after a few discussions back and forward, what was his suggestion for me to improve on that talent? And so he's come back and said, sure, no worries, I would use Obliterate. It is the best talent for an AR build if that is what you're going for. If you're going to use Obliterate, try and get your crit chance as close as you can to the 60% cap, and your crit damage up as high as you can get it after the hit chance cap. So, as I said to him, thanks very much, and I'll work on that. And I'm going to show you what the difference is. But the footage you've been seeing up to now is all based around this comment. So thank you so much, mate. I appreciate it, and it worked like a charm. In fact, you could feel the difference around the build just by making that one tweak. Now, I did have to make a few adjustments to the build, and I'll show you that in a second. But again, it just shows you with one change, it can make such a huge difference. And crit damage and crit chance and all that kind of stuff is not something that I've focused on in the past. I've seen a lot of builds that talk about it, but it's not something that I've actually explored to this point, and I certainly will be in the future on this channel. So let's just point out what Markersu was making reference to. So here's the Chain Killer body armor. And if you scroll down, you can see the perfect headhunter. After killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals an initial 150% of the killing blow's damage. Damage is capped at 800% of your weapon damage. This is raised to 1250, 1250% if your headshot damage is greater than 150. So that's all around the headshot damage. And one of the problems that I had here is that I'd already made some recalibration adjustments to the weapon damage of this piece. So the reconfiguration I had to make was, obviously I didn't have another chain killer to play with. So I went with this Fenris Harknesque armor, which already had max weapon damage on it, close to max explosive resistance, which I'm not too worried about. But one of the big things is it had max critical hit chance on it, which was perfect for the suggestion. And obviously we changed the recalibration bench, the talent to obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds, stacks up to 25 times. So that piece has made a huge difference, and I've added the critical hit chance mod on top of that, and that's only at 4.7%. I can improve on that, and I will be looking for a better critical hit chance mod as we're going through. In fact, for both those pieces, with the Heartbreaker, I'll also put a critical hit chance mod on of 3.7%. So already we've got a huge boost to critical hit. That's 3.7 plus 4.7 plus 6%. Huge, over 10%. That's a nearly 14% extra critical hit chance on this build, which is fantastic. The other change I made was in the gloves, I think, where I changed that attribute from, I think it was weapon handling or something, to critical hit chance of 5.8%. It was 6%. So I've made tweaks. So what's it done to the stats, G4? Well, have a look at this. Our critical hit chance is at 40%. Our critical hit damage at 66%. Headshot damage 55%. So what's that done to the overall kind of buffs that we've got on our weapon damage? And again, we've taken a couple of weeks since we've been here. So 92.4% all weapons bonus damage, which is about 3%, close to 3% increase in weapon damage bonus. But at the same time, assault rifle damage has gone up by 10%. What is wrong with these people today? Excuse me, I'm trying to do a video here. So that's huge. That's massive. That's a massive increase to what we had, and you can feel it in the build, let me tell you, by a long way. Just so you're aware, the total damage on the St. Elmos engine is still sitting at 106.9, which is very close to what it was before. My next kind of focus on this is to try and optimize the assault rifle damage on St. Elmos engine, and there's a couple of ways I can do that. I can either optimize it or re-roll it. I'm tossing up what I want to do there. I haven't got quite enough materials to optimize just quite yet, so I've got a couple of options how I can get even more damage, but if I optimize it, that will push up the assault rifle damage to 11%. So our next suggestion comes from Mr. Themboys, and he said, why not just use the Picaro holster for weapon damage? So let's go over to the original build and we'll swap out the Picaro's holster and talk about that. I have seen the Picaro's holster and the Fox's Prayer gloves used in many builds, so let's see if it gives us a benefit for what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, so let's get the original build up to start with, and we're looking at a Picaro's holster now. We have a Fenris holster on at the moment, which is giving us 10% assault rifle damage, plus it has we've modified it to give us 15% weapon damage and 9.1% critical hit damage. So Picaro's holster, okay, let's see. Put that on, it's giving us 15% weapon damage. armor regen, armor, skill haste, skill tier. So it really isn't going to give us a huge amount of. So we've actually lost 10% assault rifle damage to that equation when we do that, and also critical hit chances down to 26%, critical hit damage 55, and headshot damage 55. So we've lost quite a number of things by just adding Picaro's holster. So it may well be that if I reconfigure that, I will get more out of that holster. But at this point, it doesn't seem as though it's a viable option. And Picaro's holster is really more of a skill haste, giving an extra skill tier. So it's more skill based than it is actual raw damage. And again, when you get any weapon piece, the core attributes and attributes might be slightly different for everyone. So if we hadn't already done some recalibration on this, we probably could have swapped out that core attribute for weapon damage or something like that, and got some a bit of an advantage. But based on the version that I've got, that really doesn't help. But thank you so much for the suggestion. It is certainly worth looking at from a point of view of trying to get an optimized build. And the final suggestion today is from Spotify 2199. The most hard-hitting build is the Striker Guaranteed. I've tried everything else. 4-piece Striker with Coyote Mask and 1-piece Grupo with Gunner Spec. Once you get a full 200 stacks up, even 100 stacks, heck, even 50 on the Striker with the Rock and Roll Shotty, then you will get a hard-hitting. Hitting hard is killing legendary. With a red build is something else. Got 42% CHC and 190 CHD. Coyote Mask gives you extra you need. So I agree with what Spotify is saying, and we'll look at the build in a second, but one of the things that is very specific to what I'm trying to do is actually get the maximum amount of damage out of the St. Elmos assault rifle. And you'll see in a second as we go through the build that I've come up with, why this build is so powerful, that has been recommended, but why it might be not quite what we're looking for this specific task. Here's what we come up with. We have the Coyote's Mask, and you can see there it has core attribute is 15% weapon damage, and then we have 5% critical hit chance, 12% maxed out critical hit damage, and then I've got another 11 to 12% critical hit damage as a mod on that mask. My rule for using a green gear build or a gear set build is that I always have the chest piece and the backpack together if I'm going for a 4-piece. So here we get, obviously with Striker, we get improved weapon handling and fire rate, which means it hits quicker, I guess, than normal. But the Striker's Gamble is the big thing. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacks up to 100 times. 1 stack lost per second, 0 to 50 stacks, 2 stacks lost per second, between 50 and 100 stacks. So use it or lose it. With this piece I've got max weapon damage, 4.7 critical hit chance, and 11, so 12% critical hit damage. And then we get an extra talent on the body armor, increase max stacks for Striker Gamble from 100 to 200. So we get more stacks, putting more damage out, 3 stacks lost per second, between 100 and 200 stacks. Striker's Holster, again, weapon damage, critical hit chance. I've got Grupo knee pads on, which gives me an extra 15% critical hit damage. Plus it has maxed out weapon damage on there and a little bit of armor regen. Striker's Gloves, weapon damage maxed out, weapon handling. And then the backpack, which again, weapon damage is maxed out, 3.7 critical hit chance, and again that's only because of the mods, the lack of having critical hit chance mod or a good one. And then you get an extra talent, risk management, increased total weapon damage gained per stack from 0.65 to 1% damage. So that looks like it's a pretty viable build. You can see our critical hit chance is at nearly 40%. The critical hit damage is outrageous at 96%, and then shot damage hasn't really changed at 55. The accuracy on stability on this is much higher, 56% accuracy, 58% stability, and our weapon damage is 95%, but our assault rifle damage is lower. So that's a net of 25 and 95. Do the math. That's 120% versus what we had, 92 and 50% for assault rifle damage. So yes, this is a harder hitting damage build, but as far as assault, specifically for St. Elmos and assault rifle damage, you can see there we're now at 97.2 damage on the St. Elmos. So absolutely the striker build is viable, but for an assault rifle, it's probably not the optimized build for what we're trying to do. But don't be fooled, this is a fun build, and if you're looking for a damage build, not specifically looking to optimize your assault rifle or a specific type of weapon, this is a great build. I had a lot of fun running around playing around with this build, so thank you very much, Spotify. It is a fun build, and it's certainly been added to my list of things that I'm going to keep and play around with. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. There was a couple of reasons why I wanted to put this video out. Number one was just to illustrate the fact that there are many ways to approach a specific build, or if you want to achieve a specific objective. There are so many different ways that you can go with gear builds, and the people that have contributed to this video have pointed that out. The second thing is, there is a huge and wonderful community out there that are more than happy to help you optimize things or give you suggestions, and that has been proven today. And certainly I've learned something from all the comments that I've been given in this video and throughout my journey on Division 2. So I would highly recommend that you get into forums or Division 2 groups, wherever it might be, and learn as much as you can, because it will make you a much better player. It'll make your experience with the Division 2 a much more pleasant thing to do, and you'll start to progress. And I can tell you, a couple of these builds, I'm going to start moving up to another difficulty level, because it has made challenging feel just easy at this point in time. So I will be moving up another difficulty level to heroic, and just see how we go with these builds. Anyway, thanks for the support. If you've got any further comments on the builds that you've seen today or the original build, please leave them down below. I'm happy to give people a shout out, and I'm happy to start doing these type of these videos if you think it's going to be beneficial for you. If you're not subscribed and you like what you see, consider hitting the red button and putting in bell notification on, and a like rating always helps the channel out, and it helps us grow and make more and more of these types of videos. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time. See ya.